My name is Sarah. I am 31 years old. I am married to a wonderful man named Mark. He is 37 years old. We have been married for 6 years, and we have a 4-year-old named Leo. We live in a small apartment. My husband, Mark, worked at a construction company. He worked hard every day, but he did not earn a high salary. His pay covered our rent, our bills, and our food, but nothing more. We never bought new clothes. We rarely ate at restaurants. We never had extra money. Still, I felt safe because his job was steady. One day, Mark came home with exciting news. He said, "My boss told me I will get a promotion next month." We were so happy. We thought about the extra money we would have. I thought about buying a new dress. I thought about having a small party for Leo's birthday. I thought our life might finally change a little. But 2 weeks later, Mark came home with a serious face. I felt worried immediately. I asked, "What's wrong, Mark? What happened?" He sat down heavily and said, "They let me go." I didn't understand at first. "What do you mean?" I asked. He put his head in his hands. "The company is closing some offices. They said there is no work. They fired me." My heart stopped. I looked at my husband, and I saw his eyes fill with tears. I held his hand and hugged him tight. I told Mark that he would find a new job soon, but inside I was very scared. We had very little savings, and we had many expenses. We had to pay rent, bills, and Leo's school fees. I felt lost. That night, I could not sleep. I tried not to cry in front of my husband because I didn't want him to feel weak. The next day, Mark woke up early. He began to look for work immediately. He sent out his CV, he looked at websites, and applied everywhere. He went to interviews, but every evening he came home tired and quiet. "Did you get the job?" I would ask. "No, not yet," he would answer. Weeks passed. Our savings disappeared. We had to cut our spending even more. I cooked cheaper meals. Sometimes we made one meal last for 2 days. I stopped buying even small things for myself. When my son needed new shoes, I fixed his old ones. I even sold my ring to pay the rent. One day, my friend visited me. She said, "You cook delicious food, Sarah. Why don't you try selling it online?" I thought about her idea and told Mark. He said, "You don't need to work, my love. You already do too much. I will find a job very soon. Don't worry about money." I could see that he was upset. I told him, "This will just help us a little until you find a new job." Finally, he agreed. I took pictures of my food and posted them online. At first, I got 2 orders a week, then a few more. The money came slowly. It paid for our groceries, but it did not replace a full salary. I had to ask my mother for money to pay for Leo's school fees. After 2 months, I was exhausted. I cleaned the house, cooked food for customers, washed dishes, and took care of our son. Meanwhile, Mark would sit and watch TV or look for jobs on his phone. I know he was trying his best, but the days felt very long. One night, after a bad day with no orders and a call from the landlord, I heard my son crying in his room. I was cooking, and my hands were burning from the hot oil. My eyes felt heavy with sleep. Mark walked into the kitchen. I looked at him and snapped. "What are you doing?" I shouted. "You promised you would find something. I work all day. I sell food. I feed this house. And I am still the one worrying about everything. I am so tired." He did not shout back. He just stood there and said softly, "I'm trying, Sarah. I am trying." His face was so sad. He looked like a man who had nothing left to give. I felt angry because everything was on my shoulders, but I also felt ashamed because I had shouted. Mark left the room and sat on the stairs outside. I watched him from the window. He looked hurt. I didn't want to break his spirit. I just wanted him to wake up. The next morning, we both apologized. "I'm sorry for shouting," I said. "I was just scared." Mark said, "You were right, Sarah. I need to do more." That day, Mark did something different. He started applying for any job, not just perfect ones. He called small companies. He went to a restaurant to work as a cleaner. He even applied for a taxi job. Still, weeks went by without a call. Sometimes Mark came home after an interview and said, "They like me, but they will call later." I smiled and encouraged him, "Try again tomorrow." Then, one morning, his phone rang. It was an invitation for a job interview. But Mark was not happy. He looked incredibly nervous. "What if they say no?" he asked, his voice shaking. "What if I go and they laugh at me?" He looked like a man who was afraid to face another rejection. I held his hand firmly and said, "Go, Mark. Even if it is a small job, just go." He hesitated, so I pushed his coat into his hands. Finally, he left. I locked the door, sat on the floor, and waited. I made a list in my mind. I planned what I would say if he didn't get the job. I planned how many food orders I needed to take. I waited for 3 hours. When he came back, he looked tired. My heart beat fast. I assumed he didn't get the job. Then, suddenly, he smiled. "They gave me the job, Sarah," he said. "It starts next week." I felt so relieved that my eyes filled with tears. The job was not the promotion he wanted. It was not the high salary he once had. It was at a small factory that needed a man to learn the work from the beginning. But it was honest work. It meant money would come every month. I hugged him and said, "It is not the life we planned, but it is our life now. We will make it work." He smiled and whispered, "Thank you for believing in me." Our life did not change in a single day. We still checked prices at the market. We still counted coins for our son's shoes. We still took orders for my food business. But now the worry was shared. Mark learned new things at work. 1 month later, with a little extra money, I bought a simple dress for myself. It was cheap, but when I put it on, I felt like myself again. Sometimes Mark comes home after a long day and we argue about money, but the arguments don't feel like the end of the world anymore. They're short and we fix them. We talk more now. One evening, Mark said, "I was ashamed to tell you how scared I was." I replied, "Don't be. You are my husband. We are a family. We must be honest. Life can be hard, but working together and supporting each other makes it easier. Small efforts can help a family stay strong and find hope again." If you found this story helpful for your English practice, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.